Pre-beginning. We live in a world that promotes democratic values of being fair to one and all, the importance of fitting into a group, and knowing how to cooperate with other people. We are taught early on in life that those who are outwardly aggressive and combative pay a social price, isolation, and unpopularity. These values of harmony are perpetuated in subtle and not so subtle ways, through the books we read on how to be successful in life, through the pleasant, peaceful exteriors that those who have gotten ahead present to the public, through notions of fairness that saturate the public space. However, what we are prepared and trained for is peace, but what we are not prepared and trained for is war. This war exists on several levels. Most obviously, you have your rivals on the other side. In business, politics, even the arts, people will do anything to gain an edge. More troubling and complex, however, are the battles we face with those who are supposedly on our side. There are those who outwardly play the team game, who act very, very friendly and agreeable, but sabotage us behind the scenes. Others, more difficult to spot, play passive games of subtle aggression by offering help that never comes, instilling guilt as a secret weapon. Indeed, on the surface, everything seems futile, but just below it is every man and woman for him or herself. This dynamic infecting groups, families. Indeed. You see, the culture of this society in which we live may deny this reality and promote a gentler picture. Well, we know these peacemakers, but we know it and feel it in our battle scars. It is not that our colleagues are ignoble and who fail to live up to the ideals of peace and selflessness, but that we cannot help the way we are. We have aggressive desires that are almost impossible to repress or hold back. In the past, individuals could expect a group, the state, an expected family, a company to help them out. But in this uncaring world now, this is no longer the case. And what we have to do now is look after our own interests. You see, what we need are not impossible and inhuman ideals of peace and selflessness to which to live up to, and the confusion that brings us, but rather practical knowledge on how to deal with conflict and the daily battles we face. And this knowledge is not about how to be more forceful in getting what we want, or defending ourselves, or becoming more emotional. It is more or less about becoming more rational, strategic when it comes to conflict, channeling our aggressive desires and impulses, rather than denying or repressing them. If there is an ideal for which to aim, it should be that of a strategic warrior, the man who manages difficult situations and people through deft and intelligent maneuver. Many psychologists and sociologists have argued that it is through conflict that problems are often solved and differences reconciled. Now, successes and failures in life can be traced back to how well or how badly we deal with the inevitable conflicts that face us in everyday life, that confront us in society. You see, the common ways with which people deal with them, trying to avoid all conflict, becoming all emotional, lashing out, turning sly and manipulative, are all counterproductive in the long run, and often make the situation far worse because they are not under conscious or rational control. Strategic warriors operate much differently. They think towards their long-term goals. They control and channel their emotions. When forced to fight, they do so with indirection and subtle maneuver, making their manipulations hard to trace. In this way, they can maintain the peaceful exterior, so cherished in these political times. This ideal of fighting rationally comes to us from organized warfare, where the art of strategy was invented and refined. In the beginning, war was not at all strategic. Battles between tribes were fought in a brutal manner, a kind of ritual of violence in which individuals could display their heroism. But as tribes expanded and evolved into states, it became to all apparent that war had too many hidden costs, that waging it blindly often led to exhaustion and self-destruction, even for the victor. Somehow, wars had to be fought more rationally. The word strategy comes from the Greek ancient strategos, meaning literally the leader of the army. Strategy in the sense was the art of generalship, of commanding an entire war effort, deciding what formations to deploy, what terrain to fight on, what maneuvers to use to gain an edge. And as this knowledge progressed, military leaders discovered that the more they thought and planned ahead, the more possibilities they had for success. Novel strategists could allow them to defeat much larger armies, as Alexander the Great did, with his victories over the Persians, in facing savvy opponents who were also using strategy. There developed an upward pressure to gain an advantage. A general had to be over even more strategic, more indirect and more clever. And then the other side. Over time, this art became generalized and more sophistical as more strategies were invented. Although the word strategy itself is Greek in origin, the concept appears in all cultures, in all periods. Indeed, the Zulus, King Shaka as a whole, he used an envelopment warfare of encircling his enemies, where he drew upon the physicality and the emotion of the person before going in for the actual kill. Indeed. You see, what we are up against today in our world is a world of uncertainty. There is chaos on the streets. This new psychological warfare and maneuver warfare, mobile warfare, has to be developed within a new culture system of man. Because as man has advanced, the more intense the battlefield becomes, the more sly and aggressive. It is not an outward direct war of going in all guns blazing as a military sense. Wars are so indirect now, it's like a political war. People have gone underground. People not brazenly attack you on the street. People know there will be a repercussion for that. Therefore, people attack you in sly manipulative ways such as encirclement and maneuvering you, passive aggression within the business field, of being sly, manipulative, where promising to be on your side, helping you, when really they're plotting ideas to sabotage you behind the scenes. This war is, what we face today, is a slippery, indirect war where two people perhaps, or one person, a leader of ill will, has blinded a mass of followers, ideologists of the bad man or evil, into a pattern where they use this form of encirclement to hunt you down on the streets, or hunt you down in the office, or wherever you are. Could be a group of a few hundred within let us think, within a supermarket, for instance. You would have these people that have all gathered together as one tribe, where they will use a form of, for example, encirclement within, say, a supermarket, just to encircle a person that they may fear or not like. Or it could be one of their own. Most wars come. See, the danger of most wars are not external, but the wars within. Your actual alliance. You can have people that envy, jealous of your position, that want to sabotage you. Indeed, this is a new modern warfare. I ask the gods of man to rise up against this enemy.